Hey, it's Shabes, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week, from the 7th of March to the 14th of March. My hair. A couple of things out of the way. I watched all of these like in the morning, and then I had like a long watching other things and group watches and things like that. So now it's kind of later in the day, and it's been a while since I watched them. So if I'm fuzzy on the details of some of these videos, I apologize. And the first video I wanted to talk about is just, I wanted to mention it in some capacity because I just think it's impressive and crazy and interesting. But I didn't watch all of it, as you do with a 5-hour, 45-minute video that you find the day before Digest comes out. If it came out earlier in the week and I had some more time to watch it, then I probably would have pace it out so I can put it in here proper. But yeah, 5 hours and 45 minutes from SethTheProgrammer. How strong is Goku? Yeah, it's impressive. It's very impressive. It's 7 different editors. It's sort of pieced together similar as I think it's The Right Opinion is the name of the channel. He made like that really big 4-hour Nico Avocado video, similar deal where he has a bunch of editors helping him to make putting it all together basically. But this still probably took kind of a fair while, at least. I don't know how long. I imagine also that like Seth as he says in the beginning of this video, I did watch the first like 20 minutes of it just to get a taste of like, okay, is this like is he rambling? Is he just kind of like a live stream or something? No, it's a fully edited, like scripted video, like a video. Even you can, I say that because it's like two videos before this, or something like that. He has another 1 hour and 18-minute video, but that one is like seems on screen and he's doing a tier list. So it's and that yeah, okay, you can make an hour video pretty swiftly out of that, but this is insane. This is impressive, So it's sort of gauging how long this took him. I'm wondering this partially out of envy because because of the thing I've been planning and writing this bigger Naruto video and stuff, but I don't know if I'll get 7 editors. That's not a bad idea. That's really not a bad idea, all things considered, but I don't know at this point. But that's just what I'm, so seeing this as a part of admiration, jealousy, and just being very impressed. Again, I didn't watch all of it. What the structure of it is he literally goes through pretty much the entire series of Dragon Ball, from chapter 1 original Dragon Ball, literally up to like the most up-to-date granola fight, or whatever it is, talking about the things that Goku is capable of doing. Like, oh, he does this feat, this feat of strength, or this thing he can do, just to kind of gauge how strong he actually is. Because he's like, oh, this guy's 20, he must be hundreds of tons, and things like that. That sort of kind of video. It's not my thing. But then again, he also says that, like, sorry if I keep interrupting myself, but he says that like this is like over a decade of him talking about this show, which you can't tell from his channel. His channel, like, the oldest video I think is 4 years old, and then all of them have over 1 million views, and he very clearly curates his content. Like his oldest video is 4 years ago, but like I believe him if he's been talking about it for over a decade. I totally believe it. But like you look at his channel and all of them are like the ones with insanely amount of views. But it's more likely than like that, like he's just curated a lot of them. But he's successful. He knows what he's doing. But yeah, just really impressive. Again, I wanted to put it at the very beginning because I didn't watch all of it. I only watched the first 20 minutes to really gauge what it was like. But this is impressive. This is really cool. Well, congratulations on it. It's a crazy accomplishment. But like, it's not even something like part of his, what kind of dampens it for me, it's not like a big deal or whatever. But like, he just put out a video and then put this video. Like, this feels like it came out of nowhere. But obviously he's probably, that's just how you play YouTube, right? Where you plan things out and whatever. Yeah, I'm just, admiring the hustle a lot. It's really impressive. I put the camera up a little too high, so I'm gonna put it right here for now. Well, let me talk about a video that I don't want to do it to him. I've been hesitating to. but I'll probably give this one a not good. I checked out this Anime Everyday video from about the history of the lo-fi girl. Really unique topic, interesting. I think other people have probably covered it before because it's a pretty popular channel and popular subject, so why not? And I think I could tell at least somebody has covered it. I know Colin and Samir covered it because they just hit 10 million subscribers, this lo-fi girl, formerly known as Chilled Cow, as I did know them from. I followed this channel for quite a while. Not like a super avid listener these days, but I've always admired some of the mixes that they had really early on. And I remember the GIF that they used before they switched to the original Where Did She Come From? I feel like it's not, I knew about the answer, but I still wanted to see kind of like what more insight could they have. I mean, it's nearly a 10-minute video type of thing. It can't, you can say more than just, oh, it came from a GIF of Whisper of the Heart and, whatever. You can talk, they do that. They talk a bit about lo-fi and things like that. Although I sent this to, I don't want to call him out, so I won't say. Fellow YouTuber, Mutual. I'm like, what do you think of this video? And he's like, yeah, because he's made similar videos about the kind of in the same ballpark of sorts. And I mean, I'm not one to gauge this sort of thing of like, oh, it's not well researched, whatever. Let me just double check the description again. But there's clips. So they do cite some clips that they took and they do have some sources. That's great. Awesome. But there was just something about it that seemed very surface level. That they just didn't... I'm sorry if I'm all over the place. When I said earlier that like it does seem that somebody has made a video on this before, it's really kind of a visual thing for me with the video that's kind of underwhelming. Is a lot of the a lot of the visuals being used don't feel like they match each other. Like there's this some footage they're using from like showing off the artist or something of like talking about who drew Lo-Fi Girl or whatever, and using some footage from that video. But there's no visual indication that this is taken from somebody else's video, maybe like a source underneath on the bottom. There's a video coming up later, Macros that Bonsai Pop did, and there's a section where they're talking about like the Iron Curtain and Russia and certain things. Like it's really, wait, a Macros video? Yeah, hold on. But there's like a thing in the corner. They're like, I did not edit this, and there's like, here's the link. This is in the description or whatever. But like to be clear that they didn't edit this part. They're taking this from another person's video. And if you're taking from somebody else's video, you kind of have to make that clear, or just be really clever. Like there has been one moment where I remember I wanted to get footage from Kaiji or something, or from a certain whatever, and it was in another person's video, and there's no way to tell it's that person's video because it's just the clip. It's just clip select. There's no watermark or anything else. But if there was, you'd either crop it or do something in a way that you're just taking the footage. You're not taking that person's video. Because there is that weird, yes, obviously we're taking anime and other art and whatever. That's not ours, and that's just how it is. But I do think there is sort of a line that it felt like there was being crossed here with like taking from other YouTubers. It's like using a person's fan art in a thumbnail without their permission. You know what I mean? There's something not too kosher about that. There's the bigger corporate, the bigger institution that did this anime and everything. Like you're not getting permission for them for that thumbnail, but like that's a big corporation and versus like a smaller in comparison Twitter person who made this fan art or whatever. There's a difference, and you know what I mean. So it's not the best. So this kind of little bits like that kind of reminded me of that, and I have been made aware of like some of the previous videos you guys have put out have been using some AMVs that like are from YouTube, and it's like you're just using a person's AMVs. It's not like thing bad, but it's just kind of because what ends up happening, right, if you notice that if the viewer starts to pick up on something like that, then you're like, wait, what else did they take? The credibility starts to get a little fuzzy, and it ends up being like, did you make that? And there's some things that you did make, and I want to give proper credit for that because I want to celebrate your work and the things that you did. there's certain things that you can clearly tell it's not the YouTuber making the animation or whatever. But there's other things where I'm like, was that them or was that another YouTube video? And if it's another YouTube video, we should make that clear. That's just like a line. And then, I don't know. That's one aspect to it, but I think the core of is partly that the visuals are kind of underwhelming in that regard, because then it feels all over the place, and there's the way it's edited seemed weird. But then like I just was the lo-fi stuff, the origins of it, and like through Nujabes and things. There's other. I'm just kind of parroting this other person. I don't want to name drop, but they were saying how like, yeah, they could have gone into way more detail than that, or the little more nuance, and there's, it seems kind of glossed over and things. And so I'm not here to like, the digest isn't so much about correcting people on the certain, like sometimes I do, like I can't help it sometimes. I'm like, no, Astro Boy was in this year or something, like if I notice it. But like, I'm not fact checking every video I'm watching, really. What it is I'm talking more about the craft here. And I do think there was it felt very surface level, didn't really dive into the why. I do feel like the core of like, where does she come from? You're talking about the visual, and then you finally talk about Whisper of the Heart. You answer that question like more than halfway through the video, and then the way it's edited, you don't show the clip that it's from. Like you show that it's from Whisper of the Heart, but you don't show the thing that the image it's taking from until the very, very, very end of the video, where you're already wrapping up and concluding it. And there it is. It's like, oh, that's what it was. You could talk about what that scene is, or why they chose that particular one. I don't know. Go a little further into it. Like, there's the whole internet-wide thing where appropriating anime images for an aesthetic for music, right? You think of future funk or anything. This is another thing that my mutual was talking about. It's like there's kind of a broader context of why they chose this particular image. But I do like that you mentioned the wolf children, well, what looked like wolf children, and their that particular story. That was interesting. Although it does feel like it was kind of at that point, it's like you're time padding out a 10-minute video, trying to make like a 10-minute video kind of thing. Again, I don't want to be condescending. I hope I'm not. I am like, I feel bad because it's like just came back, just got started and making videos and stuff like that, and it's exciting and cool, and it's all in good faith and everything. I don't feel like tearing into you the same way, but at the same time, I do want to call what it is, and I also don't want to just not talk about it. There's a lot of videos I watch that are not good that I'd rather not talk about because it would be boring or not substantive or anything. But I do feel like if I could mention it on Digest and you happen to see it, then maybe you take from it constructively and hopefully improve. That's just all I'm doing this for. I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm just like padding it, I don't know, softening the blow or something. No, but like, I was pretty disappointed in the video, pretty much, and but I am still like looking forward to more. I don't think it's like tarnished to complete or whatever, but I do feel like you guys can definitely do better. That's just how I would say, pretty much. Okay, well, I'm leaning on like, oh, but I've been so nice with them, and they've been doing such good work. I wasn't the most enthused with this Macros video. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. You've invited me on your podcast too. I feel so bad now. Fuck. No. Look. So, I thought that you mentioned in this video, Macros SDF Start of a Revolution. You mentioned that like you planned this other video first, and then the war with Ukraine, and you didn't want to say the direct. I'm not monetized. I don't really give a shit. But like the things that are going on right now, you felt that it was necessary to kind of move this ahead to kind of comment on the situation in that way. But I don't think that you really managed to connect Macros to what's going on in a substantial enough way for it to be warranted you moving it up this quick, because it does feel kind of rushed. It does feel like you kind of there was a chunk of the video where I'm just like, you're just summarizing it. What are you're way better than this. So like talk about that. I don't know. There was things that I also get that you may have been like restricted with trying to get it monetized. And and trying to avoid the songs and everything like that. Um, but you know, there's that whole thing. I get that, but like I just felt it was very plot summary for the majority of it, and then there's a very distinct separator where you're still kind of bringing up Macross a little bit, and I do really like the connection of the protocol, the shoot, what is their name? I have other sci-fi. I have other like Tolmekians from Nausicaa in my head. I forget the name of the the aliens, the bad guys in Macross. I forget their name. Fuck me. I love the connection between that and Cold War, because like there's a lack of culture there, and then it becomes as a shock of sorts. I wish it was more about that, or exploring that idea a little more, using kind of specific examples, bringing up a certain character the way you did for Psycho-Pass. You know, I really like that Psycho-Pass for kind of how deep it went into and kind of being intimate with it. But it also did feel like I was starting to feel it's like, okay, maybe they're pushing this ahead, but also they've been watching ahead of the franchise, and they've already started on 7 and they weren't very hot on it, and they're liking F, you know, they've seen other, you know, but Plus is all the way back, but not Plus, but the original is all the way back, so maybe it's a little cooled off in the mind or something. And also you don't want to spoil it because it's an older show. Sure, that could be an argument there too. I think it's possible to talk about Macross in a deeper way without spoiling it. I think there was an opportunity there that I don't think you took. As a Minmay fan. No, but like, I don't know. I didn't get too much out of it. And the politics stuff, like it's cool. I think it's still great that you guys are sticking to your guns with that sort of thing. But it ended up feeling not so much about Macross at that point. It didn't feel as well integrated, I guess. It felt very very, here's the Macross part, and here's now we're going to talk about the big bald guy or whatever, and sometimes throw Macross footage in there and like kind of weaving Macross back in, but it didn't. It felt a little. It did feel rushed, I will say. It's unfortunate. I get it, but there's also like it's tough with these older shows because there are fans of this show, like very avid fans, and I got one of them. I did have one DM and be like, "This," but. And I'm like, yeah. Well, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I know you guys are open to like feedback of sorts. I'm not gonna be like, this was, you know, little bits of like there was. Never mind. No, this is. It's not worth mentioning in my opinion. But like there's certain things I think it could have been sharpened or whatever. Yeah, I guess it just it did feel rushed, I guess, and not right. It did something not quite right about it. Still not like a irritating, you know, like ugh kind of video for me. But I just wanted to, you know, it's an L for me. not to demean it. And I'm sorry I must not be invited on the podcast at this point. Great. I'm sorry. No, I'm looking forward to the Nine Galactic Railroad video for sure, because that movie went way over my head, and I would love to hear your guys' kind of more interesting, more like really pick that movie apart kind of vid. That would be interesting. Yeah, but you know, I'm glad you talked about Macross at least, and if you continue on the franchise, that'll be. I bet you'll like Plus a lot. I bet you could probably make a really good Plus video. Yeah. Okay, and now for some videos that I thought were decent, you know, pretty good, or just like kind of note, like that's interesting. You know, this first one is from Mudan. He made 100 thumbnails in 4 hours. This fucking guy. Damn, man, it's impressive, and you know, you don't get like a full insight. It's not like, you know, like, it's more of an entertainment, like You Madman type of thing, and very kind of fun. Twitch, because he did this on his Twitch stream, of course, and you know, very clip highlightsy feel. You don't feel, you know, you can kind of get an arc of like how this challenge went for him, and he did complete it, barely. It is really impressive, but like seeing that creative process is interesting, and it was just a funny video. But I just want to point it out for how like crazy and absurd it is. I do wish it had a couple more of those kind of specific insights, but hard to do that when you're blind mad rush, like just put shit on the screen and blah, you know. I can't relate personally. I wish I had the fortitude to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I know that like Mudan like is, I feel like he can be very detail oriented and very I know the kind of work he's able to put out, and I'm not saying these thumbnails are trash, because no, they're not. They obviously work. I've gotten a lot of them in my recommended, because I follow Connor's VODs and Seeing Iron Mouse, and I occasionally click on some of these vids, but it's still impressive that it's like you can just crank all these out. It's really insane, but it does take this sort of like impressive mental fortitude to just like, it's fine, go, move on. It's good. You know what I mean? Yeah. Manga Crash. I don't know if it's the first time I've talked about this channel. Maybe. I'm not sure. And I think he messaged me about my Shonen Jump list, about like every Jump anime. So maybe he would do something with that. That'd be cool. But I appreciated this as someone who kind of went through a similar dive this past week for my Naruto video. Looking at like a lot of old Jump stuff, but he did this video where he recites literally every weekly Shonen Jump series ever, just literally reading the list off of Wikipedia, and then on the side showing a cover if there was one available, and like the first issue it shows up. I do wish there was a little bit more value in terms of the information that was put out, like how many volumes was he, or how many issues. There's a site called, and if you want me to send it to you, that's fine. There's a site called Jajanken or something like that, and you just put in the Japanese name, like it's a Japanese site, but that site can actually tell you how many issues that the story ran in, and it does include like skipping, so you can actually tell how many chapters each one was based on that. Which is really interesting. It shows you kind of the length, not just in volumes, but in chapters, which I think is kind of a better metric, usually. At least I think so. I think at one point, sometime in Jump's history, they changed the number of pages per issue, so that could fluctuate it a little bit, but whatever. But yeah, like I think the value for this was definitely seeing, like it's one thing to go on Wikipedia and look at this list yourself, but then a lot of these don't have corresponding Wikipedia pages, so unless you like highlight and control like search Google Images for some of these things, which sometimes you can't find some, getting a visual for each of these titles is great, because then you can tell at a glance if is it a gag series, is it action, sports, whatever it is, which is valuable and interesting. And so I was happy that he did that. He included that aspect to it. That was kind of the most interesting point of it for me. I do think it could be cut better, or just on screen a little bit better. I don't know why there were some instances where he cut the video. It's not one uninterrupted VOD. You're clearly editing it, not just with the pictures, but there are cuts in places. But then there's some of these, I hate to like nitpick, but like there's some instances where you recite the manga, you're trying to pronounce it, and you don't have the best job. You have okay, not greatest, but like you're slightly familiar with it. You're not like completely ignorant of it, basically. And so like, but there's moments when you try to say the word, try to say the name, and then you can't, you're struggling with it or something. There's that I feel like it could have been cut a lot sharper, basically. I think the 30-minute video could have been a 20-minute video. Probably. Maybe that's exaggerating, maybe 25 minutes. But I felt like there was a lot of dead time, or just things that weren't as engaging besides you reciting it. I think it's funny and kind of cool to have a video where you're just reciting each and every one of them. That's kind of neat. A little bit of commentary here and there could be nice. I honestly, I get just not giving the commentary is fine, but there's little places here and there. And I also think it would have been helpful if you saw the covers yourself. Like clearly you put them in after the fact and you're just reading them off of Wikipedia. So then if you saw some of these, not only do I think would you be able to pronounce them a little bit more accurately, because there's certain titles where it's like that's what it's supposed to say, but the way you read it, I can understand why you probably pronounced it wrong. It's fine, not a big deal. Not the biggest deal, I guess. It's kind of a big whatever. But also just see your reaction to them. You're not just blindly kind of placidly reading the title off without any emotional attachment to it. It would be funny if you kind of The most kind of reaction you get to some of these titles that you have no idea about is if it's a very long title or if it's a weird like tee weird title. But I think seeing the cover too could have been really interesting, as well as like reciting the title off. And then yeah, also just like yeah, how many chapters it was or something. I don't know, a little bit more. You know what else I was interested in? There were some titles that you can clearly tell that that's a former this person would go on to write this series or something. Like I think there was this one that was drawn by Tetsuro Hara, who is the artist for Fist of the North Star, and it was like a cyber cop thing. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. A little bit. At that point, you were kind of increasing the scale of it. That's me. That's me being a dum dum. Because that's just. It would just balloon out, and I get it's already kind of a lot as it is. But yeah, I did enjoy the video conceptually. It was interesting. Past, Present, and Future, Wolf's Reign, and the Uncompromising Search for Paradise from Hakaru. Hakaru doesn't upload very often, so it's nice to see him. And there's something about it where like when I was watching this with like I was like he's making a Wolf's Reign video, and then I remember he's made the dot hack video and the Princess Tutu video. It's like you kind of have this nice interesting lane, this interesting kind of like subject. Obviously you've done Crybaby and Wep as well. But like this vibe of like early 2000s kind of shows, I'm like that's kind of like a good vibe for you. I think there's something about the tone of your voice and the way you present it very concisely. It kind of reminds me of Alexander in a way in terms of the reading of the literature analysis of sorts of this kind of video. Yeah, it's nice. The best part of it for this video was definitely the history with the wolves. That was fascinating. I had no idea that it had that much connection to Japanese culture. That was really interesting. I also just really enjoyed your use of the show's soundtrack. It's Yoko Kanno. But that was a really good use of it too. And I don't know, it did feel like it kind of just... I wasn't as engaged with it the rest of the time so much. I've seen Wolf's Reign, so I was able to kind of follow what you were saying. But a lot of it was just kind of like, yeah. I don't know if that is a good or bad thing. But I enjoyed it. And again, it's just good vibes. And again, I just like the way you handle the content is so grounded and straight shooting. I don't know. It's nice. It's a good feeling. Yeah, I enjoyed the video a good deal. I hope you guys check it out. All right. And that's... I'm not doing that. I already did. And now it's time to talk about the best videos of the week. The ones where I thought were very exceptional. This is pretty good. And this first one's from blunova. Thank you, Lone Crit, for turning my attention towards it. I did see this guy's Kamen Rider video, or one of his Kamen Rider videos, a while ago, and it was pretty good. But this was really... I liked this a lot. It's about Gundam boys and how women were Gundam's first fans. And that's not hyperbole. He gives literally 3 different quotes from Tomino, which I really appreciated. Like, here's 3 different instances of Tomino saying that the first fans were Gundam fans, first Gundam fans were women because of certain reasons that you see with 79. But I also like that he went even further back to Raideen, that you can see the kind of the hot boy as the protagonist was kind of a thing that early on, and to try to get a broader demographic to increase its popularity of sorts. And then talking a bit about Wing, and then Seed, and then a little mentioning IBO, but not that much. Even mentioning how 00 had like a BL designer for the character design. That was really interesting. I didn't recognize that actually. Yeah, it was just like really informative, very fact-based, and as long as it needed it to be. And I don't know, it just was like really fascinating. I thought he did a really good job with this. I was just really impressed by it. I'm sorry I don't have too much else to say, but I think he did a really good job here. This was great. This was hella fascinating, man. When Lost, it's a short film by AP Lattanzi, and I didn't expect that. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting, but like not that, because like it's basically taking from this particular album or artist or something, which is very spacey, long, droning, atmospheric, a little dark, but slow and nice. I like this kind of music. And so it's kind of putting that music in the forefront and make that. That's the only thing he says about it, is like it's based on this, it's inspired by this particular set of music. And so he's just pretty much putting visuals to this music, which is something I literally tweeted about the other day, of like, I make AMVs because there are sounds that I wish could have images associated with them. And there's images that I wish could be associated with sound or whatever. And so I totally relate to this and totally respect and appreciate this thing. It's very similarly shot as it is as the music is very long and droning. There's a lot of long takes and not much is happening. There's a couple scenes where it's almost complete darkness and you can't tell what's going on. There are slight changes here and there, and that's what makes it kind of like engrossing. I actually, as a watch a lot of YouTube, I'm guilty of often playing things at 1.5 speed or whatever. But this one I wanted to play at one time so that I can listen to the music like as it's intended, and also just kind of gets trapped in the atmosphere, I guess, of the whole thing, and stare at these images for a little while to see if anything comes up, anything changes. I think there was a lot more interesting things towards the end where it's like this. There's the back of this girl, and then there's moments where you're very brief cuts. They're in different areas and things like that. That was interesting. But it's very slow moving, doesn't explain anything, it doesn't seem to have like a continuity of sorts. There's a bit, it feels like you're kind of shooting things around your house or something. But I just like that, and it's interesting. And then there's like the thumbnail, and there's like a chunk of it is like the only thing that's like surreal and not filmed in live action type of thing. That was so quick, that was trippy as hell. But I just love the music, and really like that you made this. Again, this is why I've still subbed it. Not like I avidly unsub from people that often. I'm kind of lazy like that. I think a lot of people can relate to this, where they're like, unless there's something they're like, I don't want to, I don't think people unsub out of boredom, because it's I don't know. It's just like, well, it's there. Unless there's like, I haven't clicked on this person's video in 2 years or something like then. And then it's like, okay. Then it's like, I don't think I need to see it. I am good. But no, this is why I'm constantly interested. And again, it's not anime. The reason I'm talking about IP Lattanzi was the first video I saw from this person was their top list of anime orchestral soundtracks. But that's okay. I still like talking about their stuff occasionally, because it just is really oddball and interesting and cool. I really enjoy it. It's really awesome. Positive adjectives. Assault. Lines in motion. Which art style is better, stylized or realistic? This is... Oh my gosh. I'm so... I don't know if I've said it in the video, but like I actually got really mad because of how quickly you're able to make these videos, because of how with how simultaneously polished they are, and it's unbelievable. I can't believe. Maybe it's the length. Maybe that's why. That's fair. I don't know. I can't believe it though. And this one's popping really well. This is great to see. It's a great subject too. I like that they're pushing back on the realistic means better art, and that sentiment is very true. It doesn't mean it's harder. I really like that they mentioned the two Sakamoto and Inio Asano, that they use computers and they just take from, it's a different technique or whatever, and there could be in fact more effort in completely inventing something and completely inventing a world and the negative space and things like that. And there's so many examples here. I was really impressed by it. And the way you said at the end, oh yeah, my patrons posted a bunch of examples. I'm like, of course, I'm so stupid. That's so genius. Because like I had this idea at some point, and I've kind of dropped it at this point, but I had this idea about like kind of wacky anime faces and why that's such a common thing in anime. I feel like I need to make that video now that Turning Red came out, and like Turning Red, that's a big deal in the film in terms of style for Pixar, that like the director was inspired by anime specifically to make more expressive character expressions and the way the film looks in places, and even some plot devices. It's like a lot of this is straight from anime, which is really crazy and exciting to see a major studio like Pixar do this. To do that is awesome. So I mean, that could be a good avenue, a kind of a relevant avenue for me to make that video now, but I don't know. But at this point, like the challenge I had in making that was that, like, oh, what examples do I take from? Like, how do I gather all those examples of kind of what I mean by a funny face? But that's in terms of like, what do you think is stylized or realistic? But then again, it's way better YouTube than my thing, because people don't recognize what I'm talking. I'm sorry if it's mostly about me again. I'm sorry. I suck. No, I can't get over how impressive the mangamations there are here. There's the really nice puppet tool stuff, but also like just going from one image to the next, and doesn't feel like you're leaning too much on one series or another. Like, it's not all Vagabond, it's not all Berserk or whatever. Although I do feel like some of the stylized stuff, I think I could have had a better understanding of where, like Land of the Lustrous, perfect. I know exactly what you're talking about, right? But then I think you were blurring the lines a little bit, which was interesting. And I get it's a gradient, like the style isn't realistic. It's a gradient, not like but considering Witch Hat Atelier as I don't know if I pronounced, sorry, I butchered that name. Considering that Witch Hat as a stylized show is interesting, because I actually would have thought of it as more realistic because of the texture. I do think of realistic as more detailed, actually. That's just how my brain works, weirdly enough. And I know it's not fully correct. I think you do a good job articulating why Witch Hat is actually more of a stylized thing, because that author is inventing all of these images, and the actual creation of that thing does take its own creative output and exertion. So that, at the end of the day, there shouldn't be a matter of like better, which I appreciate that it's like the answer is both. It is kind of what the artist is trying to go for, basically. Yeah, gorgeous video, and really interesting subject too. There's no wonder it's doing really well. Congrats on that. You're killing it. It's great. And I'm gonna give the last video of the week that I'm talking about to Hayden Loves Anime, The Twisted Tale of Cat Soup. Oh my gosh. No wonder you took so long to make this video. Oh my gosh. The transitions are crazy. You're crazy. Like, people tell me that I'm crazy, and I'm like, no, you're crazy. There's so much involved with the visuals here. I would say that in terms of it being the definitive Cat Soup video, it is close. I do think it is definitive in the sense that you're talking about the whole franchise down to the PC game, and some of and especially the manga that it's published in, Garo. That was all very interesting and additive, and learning about that whole process. It's not just like the author's whole life and context, that it's not like a thing that's kind of a things you didn't know about Cat Soup type of thing. It's really in the forefront, and you really focus on it, and it's something really interesting and harrowing. So content-wise, I think it's phenomenal. While it's not like the most thorough or trying to get like the most epic reading of the OVA itself, I actually don't think you talk that much about the OVA, all things considered. I think you spend a much better amount of time, a good source of your energy, towards the creators behind it. I really liked you talking about the director for a good chunk of like, yeah, he doesn't get a good enough representation, but he's made really good stuff. I'm like, yeah. Iwasa, of course, and then yeah, the authors and things like that. I think that all that focus was fantastic. But really, the star of the show is your handling of all this, and it's really cool that you brought in some other artists and voiceovers and made this more of a collaborative effort. I think that was really smart of you, and I think they were handled really well. That didn't feel like, at first I was like, did Hayden do that? And then I scroll down, I'm like, oh, there's art. I'm like, oh, okay. Because otherwise I would have been like, draw even further on the ground. And I think it would have, this still would have been the best video for me, like one of the most impressive in general, just from the the whole effort and everything. But the thing that absolutely floored me, that I've never seen this before. And I'm like, that this basically changes the game for me, at least. Like, this is so genius, is the way you depicted that particular chapter and story from the Catsup manga. That was really important, and the person would later illustrate and things like that, which is diving into the author's mental state about the whole invisibility thing. That was show-stopping. I've never seen anything that cool. It just had the right amount of your quirkiness and like choices and things like that, and felt, and like it's not like lavish in a way, but it's like, I know the amount of effort that would be to visualizing this, first of all, like getting the idea, and then like, oh, these people are moving and things like that, and like the way it's assembled, I blew my mind, actually blew my mind. Absolutely loved it, because I also just like the idea where, because like mangamations like this have happened, like trying to really, making an emotion comic has happened before, like giving him voice acting and things like that, and creating this, Berserk motion comic, right? I've worked on, helped that channel in a way in the past. Not so much because my previous Discord, like I didn't feel like I was in the best amicable terms with them, and then my Discord got hacked, and it's sad. I feel really bad. But no, so like, it's one thing that's like, oh, voice acting, anything like that. But like the idea here where, it's the particular music choice and the mixed media you're putting in with like the different footage and things like that, and trying to make a visual aesthetic to it with like the windows, like the taskbar, like on a computer or whatever. And then like making it with like, instead of using voices, using like a video game text, like almost like a cutscene of sorts. That was genius. I love that. I think that just makes it super immersive. It's really own unique thing. I was just in complete arrested shock and like wonderment. Like, it's no wonder you fucking took so long on this, really. It's not simply all the transitions you did, and kind of like, it does feel like overachieving effort in some places, I think, with some of the transitions and stuff with the video editing. But then the stuff that's really admirable and really cool, and something that I think you deliver, isn't simply that webcomic, which I think is the kind of the jewel of this whole thing to me. I think you've managed to really find a great way to use your space the way you've been trying to in other videos. I think it's good in other videos. I don't think it's been failing in other ways, but especially this video, the way that it felt, everything was dark, and you're panning to one thing as you're saying something, and playing, like creating whole videos and then playing it on the TV as you're moving the camera towards the TV and having that play. That was really cool. Setting all the stuff up you have, and moving the things and everything. Like, it just felt very next level, and really exciting. I think that's definitely that sort of I don't feel like you can I think the stuff that you did with the visual transitions is fun and cool, but it's not the most impressive thing that it's not the special thing you have. I think anybody can do these sort of like window transition things that you were doing, and some of it is very creative and interesting, and I love the collaborating and everything, which other people have done as well. It really is those two things of like, no one uses their physical space, the amount of stuff you have in your room and the way it's decorated and everything, and your particular aesthetic. Nobody has that. And just the vision you have. Again, I love your aesthetic, and I just love the kind of the homey 40p, the stuff that you've had in the past that I've complimented on before. There's that voice as well, right? There's that perspective and like that, but also like you're sourcing everything, and like it has the same elevated polish that we come to expect, and we know the best of the best of us can produce. And this is one of the best of the best. You're top of the game here. It's really great, really good stuff. Yeah, so I loved that video. Congratulations on getting it out finally. You can move on. I can imagine it was a heck of a something, because the ambition. I can see that the stuff you were doing, it's like, yeah, this is super ambitious, and I've been there. I've 100% been there. So yeah, congrats on it, and wonderful, really crazy good video. If you guys haven't checked it out, what the fuck are you doing? Oh my god, it's really it's like, oh yeah, I've seen Catsup, I've seen videos on it before. This is different shit. This is so crazy. This is really, really good. Yeah, and that'll do it for this installment of AniTube Digest. Thank you very much for watching. You guys are great. You have a great week. Yo, peace.